Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to explain some fundamental concepts about TCP and IP. You could ask, why do you need to know about TCP, UDP, and all of these protocols? This mainly because cybersecurity and networking go hand in hand all the time. Networking is very important, and I promise you, if you do not understand the core concepts of networking, you probably will not be able to understand cybersecurity all that well because they're very connected. But there's going to be a short video because I want to explain this as fast as possible. But if you guys still don't understand what TCP and UDP is, watch this video again. And there are a lot of write-ups online, especially from Cisco. You could read these write-ups and they give you a very in-depth uh, n- write-up about TCP and UDP. Let's get started. So first off, before I talk about the TCP handshake, let me first define what TCP is. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. This is a stateful protocol, which means a connection has to take place between two of them and no data loss is occurring in this protocol. This is useful when you're trying to, let's say, download a file from the internet. If you're trying to download a video from Udemy or YouTube, you obviously don't want any data to be lost because this will end up corrupting the file, right? This is when you use something called the TCP protocol. Whereas there is another protocol, the UDP protocol, which is called the User Datagram Protocol. In this protocol, data loss is fine. Uh, there is no extra checks to see if data is lost. If data is lost, it doesn't really care. It keeps going. This is mainly used for video calling. If you're using Discord or if you're using Zoom, you could see that sometimes the video gets pixelated. This is because UDP is a stateless protocol, which means it does not care about data loss at all. So the core concept that we're going to learn over here is called the TCP handshake. The TCP handshake is something the protocol uses to connect to a host. Think of it as a real life handshake. What usually happens is that there is a person and he reaches his hand out. The other person will reach their hand out and they end up connecting their hands together, right? That's pretty much what happens in TCP. Let's try to visualize this with a diagram. But before we talk about the diagram, let's go through all the important ports because, well, we're doing port scanning, so knowledge about ports is very important. Think of a port as a door. You have to open your door to leave your home and reach your destination, right? This is basically how networking works. It opens up a port, and through this port, a connection is established between two mediums. A port is a virtual point where network connection starts and ends. Think of this as the doors to your home. These are a few common ports that I use. 20 is for FTP, 22 is for SSH, 23 is for Telnet, etc. Now let's talk about the TCP handshake. Three, three main terms over here are the SYN, SYNAC, and the ACK. SYN is used for SYN scans. Uh, we will be talking about SYN scans later. Essentially, what happens is this computer over here, it's trying to connect to the server. This computer sends a SYN packet or a SYN request. SYN stands for synchronize. So what it's saying is, hey, look, I need some data from you. Can I connect to you? The server then performs a few checks on the computer. It says it maybe checks for the IP address to see if this IP is from an intranet or from the building where the server is connected to, etc. And if it passes all of these tests or checks, it says, okay, I acknowledge your connection. You can connect to me. So it performs a SYN ACK. ACK stands for acknowledge. So now we've acknowledged these connections. Think of this as person A and person B. Person A is reaching his hand out. Person B acknowledges this and reaches his hand out again. And then here the connection is secured, which is the ACK. So the computer over here says, okay, I'm acknowledged the fact that you acknowledged me. I know this sounds stupid, but I promise you this is how it is. The computer says, okay, I've acknowledged the fact that you've let me connect it to your server. Thank you. And that's probably how the connection takes place between these two. So now you can see how there is no room for data loss because we have so many checks for going on, right? Which is why it says It's defined as a stateful connection. Only if a SYNAC is received back, the target will be complete. This is important because we'll be learning about something called the stealth scan, where nmap just performs the SYN request and lets go. It's like sort of reaching your handshake and then letting your hand go. Uh, we will be taking a look at this in the next video. We'll be talking about the stealth scan. So I'll see you then.